Okay, so what did life in the Americas look like before exploration? Most historians agree that the first Americans migrated from Asia over a land bridge between Siberia, which is the eastern part of Europe, and Alaska between roughly 15,000 and 35,000 years ago. So that's the land bridge up there with Alaska, those little islands that draw out. They think Native Americans kind of came over here looking for food and shelter. Native Americans began to form groups based on their culture and similar traits, and they turned into early civilizations such as the Olmec and Maya civilizations. And of course, those were long gone by the time Europeans arrived, which paved the way for more recent Native American groups. In Central and South America, the Inca and the Aztec emerged as large civilizations, which will come up again in this video. And in North America, the civilizations were not as complex, but there were larger amounts of Native Americans in North America. So the causes and effects of European exploration. So what does it look like when Europeans get here? Well, the causes were they were looking for new trade routes. They were trying to figure out ways to get to Asia faster than having to go by land. They were looking for a water route that might be quicker. There was competition between European countries for wealth and power. The more land you had, the more riches you had, the more power you had. So European countries like Spain, Portugal, French, England were all competing for this. A competition for trade. Remember, they wanted the quickest route to Asia to be able to trade goods with them. Missionaries wanted to convert people to Christianity, and they wanted a water route and shortcut to Asia, which goes along with the trade, obviously trade routes, competition for trade, wealth, and power. This was kind of the main thing that drove what ended up being the exploration of America. The effects, they gained knowledge about other regions in the world. The Europeans and Native Americans clashed for years to come, and then the enslavement of Africans and rivalry continues to grow in America as colonists and English fight here. So that's kind of a synopsis of European exploration. So Portugal takes the lead early on. The Portuguese wanted to find a water route to Asia that was faster than the land route they had currently. So Vasco da Gama sailed around the southern tip of Africa and into Asia, which guaranteed an all-water route to Asia, and Portugal took control of the valuable spice trade. All right, so soon many other countries, including Spain, began to explore further or other water routes to Asia compete with Portugal. All right, so Christopher Columbus, the one we all know for discovering America. All right, before da Gama's trip, Columbus thought he knew a faster way to Asia, and he convinced Spain's rulers, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, to back his journey with money so he could sail around. And he left in August of 1492 in his three famous ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. So Christopher Columbus was out sailing. He arrived in what he thought was India, hence where we get kind of the mythology of that's why they were called Indians, because Christopher Columbus thought he arrived in India, but it was actually the Bahamas, which we all know is off the coast of the United States. And Columbus made 4 explorations total, so he did have a lot of success. He just didn't realize that he was in the Bahamas and not India. So, dividing up the world, what is this going to look like when European countries start exploring everywhere? All right, so since everyone was exploring and claiming lands, Pope Alexander VI decided he was going to draw a line from north to south, kind of in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and it was called the Line of Demarcation. It was an imaginary line, kind of like the equator, but going the other way. All right, so Portugal claimed all non-Christian land to the east of that line, and Spain claimed all non-Christian land to the west of that line. However, Portugal's king, John II, thought that Spain had the better deal. All right, he thought they had the better deal, and the two sides met to talk about it. So Spain and Portugal met in 1494 and created the Treaty of Tordesillas, which moved the line more west, and it made both countries happy. So the line moved about 800 miles west. All right, Europeans wanted more land, and they were competing with one another to gain more land. They also wanted to spread Christianity and used missionaries to do so. So these are people that went out to convert Native Americans to Christianity. And Europeans also wanted riches, and their economies were based on what this thing called mercantilism, which is how they created kind of a balance of trade so they could gain riches and put them in their pockets. So they would set up these colonies in these other places and say, hey, this colony has a diamond mine. All right, you bring us your diamonds and we'll ship you food. So obviously not equal in wealth there. So that's what mercantilism was. But that balance of power was essential for the Europeans having that power, or the balance of trade. So explorers of America, these are just kind of people that were important in the early exploration of the Americas. Magellan, he is a Portuguese man, led the voyage that sailed around the world. Unfortunately, he actually did not make it, but one of his ships did. He got in a fight in the Philippines somewhere and got killed over there. Hernando Cortez, a Spanish guy, took conquistadors into Mexico and overthrew the Aztec Empire, and he did have the help of disease. They brought smallpox over, and the flu, which just decimated Aztecs. Francisco Pizarro, another Spanish conquistador, defeated the Inca Empire shortly after that and claimed Peru for the Spanish. Henry Hudson, who was English a little bit later, set sail in 1609 to explore the Northwest Passage. The Northwest Passage is this kind of water route above Canada in the Arctic Circle that was supposed to be a quicker water route to Asia. However, the problem with the Northwest Passage obviously is there's tons of ice and it's crazy cold, and it's very hard to navigate all those crazy islands up in Canada in the Arctic Circle. So instead, he actually ended up landing on the banks of New York and ended up sailing up a river into Canada, and we named that river the Hudson River after him. But it's important because it showed that even into the 1600s, many European countries were looking for these water routes to Asia. That was the most important thing driving the exploration at that time, or so many historians think. So even a few more explorers pop up, and that begins to cause a serious competition in the Americas. Giovanni da Verrazzano, he was an Italian sailing for the French, explored the entire North American coast looking for that water route to Asia. He never found it. The French and English began to claim land, which obviously made the Spanish mad because they had claimed that land under that treaty they set up with the Portuguese, the Treaty of Tordesillas. All right, and the Spanish and French fought over modern-day Florida, so you begin to have that competition, fighting for land. Both of them claimed that area. Spanish also put a big dent in the New Mexico, Arizona area, the southwest corner. They claimed a lot of that land. The English actually did defeat the Spanish in a series of battles back in Europe, naval battles, if you will. They fought on the water. And this proved to be crucial because it showed that Spain could be defeated, because before this, everybody thought Spain was this huge powerhouse, that they could never be defeated. They had all this much power. And losing to the English this way showed the Spanish could be defeated. And they never had as much power as they used to before this battle here. And it also allowed the English to begin setting up colonies. So this is going to kind of catapult us into what America is shaped like based upon these English who start out slow, but they begin to ramp up their colonies in there, and they eventually have the United States of America.